Welcome to this fourth lecture on a special session for online courses started by our university AKTU, and this is again Dr. Nivedita Lal from ITM GIDA from the Department of Applied Sciences and Humanities in Institute of Technology and Management. Students, in the previous lecture we had discussed about presentation skills. Some of the aspects have already been discussed, and some few relevant topics which were left we will be taking up in this session. The topic for this lecture I have selected is supporting dimensions for an impressive presentation. Now, we have already seen that presentation skill is a thing, is a trait. If we master it, it is going to be benefiting us overall in our lives. So, in the contemporary times, we all know that with the advent of scientific and electronic gadgets, now no professional will like to give a presentation without supporting it with various commodities. So, here we will like to discuss what are the supporting dimensions for an impressive presentation for any student. The agenda here will count: first, importance of supporting dimensions for an impressive presentation; second, kinesics, we all know it is all about body language; third, proxemics and chronemics; fourth, audio visual aids for presentation and the precautions required for it; and last one is factors for analysis before the presentation. When we start with kinesics, the first thing which comes in mind is our facial expression. Though some of us, or rather very few of us, are aware of this fact that any kind of presentation, any kind of interview, any kind of interaction with others, in this process our facial expression plays a very important role. Just you yourself think that if somebody comes to you with a, say, depressive face, with a negative impressions, and asks for a favor or wants to share some time with you, will you like it? Surely not. Same thing will happen with each and every one of us. So, when we talk of kinesics, that is body language, the first thing is be alert that your facial expression is appropriate. It should be lively, it should be energetic, it should be enthusiastic. Next switch over will be to gesture and posture. Gesture is the movement of our hands and fingers during our presentation, especially during seminars, project reports and other public or private presentations. So, many of us are of the habit of either standing still and giving the presentation, or making a lot of movements of fingers and hands, like playing with the chalk or pen drive, like pointing out fingers, etc. We have to be careful here, because playing with any such thing like chalk or key bunch or pen drive, it might distract our audience. So, it should be avoided. Same way, pinpointing a special person during your presentation for any cause, it gives some negative impression. So, we should restrain ourselves from any such activity while we are presenting a topic. And next, in addition to it, is a posture. Posture is again the way we carry ourselves, the way we walk, the way we stand during a presentation. Now, we all know that correct posture, it is not only good for our health, correct posture gives a impact, an overall impact on the audience, on our listeners. If you have a say depressive posture, leaning one side or not very energetic, then definitely the atmosphere will not be very positive. You have to be very careful for your posture. Actually, it is not only about your presentation time. Posture in general, all the good schools right from the childhood, they teach their students to sit straight on their backbone, to walk smartly. So, these things are to be inserted in our habits. Till date, if nobody has told about it, let us from today, let us take care that we have to be careful about our posture, especially during our presentations. It may mar our whole presentation if we are not careful about it. Third point which I like to discuss here is eye contact with the audience. During interviews, I have observed that some of you avoid eye contact. Definitely, it is because of lack of confidence. Any kind of presentation when you are giving, interview is also in presentation, seminar presentation, project presentation, any kind of presentation, eye contact should be proper with your audience. If you are evading eye contact, it's not going to give a good impression. So, proper eye contact should be made with the audience. Now, there is a point that if the crowd is big, the audience says more than 30-40 people, then how to establish eye contact and with whom to establish eye contact. So, I will suggest that you, for a large crowd of audience, you can select some corners, some from the front seat, others from middle, some might be selected from the last rows as well, and after selecting those points you should try to contact with your eyes to the audience. Of course, if you feel that anyone is trying to avoid your eye contact, do not go after that. It can be because there are some people, especially in classes, I have found that the students, some of you avoid teacher's eye contact, because might be the teacher asks you some questions if you look at him or her. So, next is your dress code. Dress code again is a very important thing for your presentation, because the way you dress up, it speaks a lot before your words come out. You should follow decent, proper dress code. For formal occasions, it has been always advised, like for interview sessions or for educational seminars and all, you should always go for full sleeve shirts, trousers, not jeans, proper matching tie. Footwear, in your footwear you should go for leather shoes preferably. I do not suggest that you go on a shopping spree with your parents before you are selected anyway, but if you can manage, you should be careful about these things. Your haircut, all these things you have to be careful about for any kind of presentation you are going to give. And then other dimensions which need our attention is proxemics. Proxemics is the description of the physical aspects of the place where you have to give your presentation. Like for example, venue, you should know beforehand during your presentation. Beforehand, you should know whether you have to give your presentation in a very large auditorium with the capacity of thousands, or in a small conference room, or whatever the place is exactly, because accordingly you have to set so many things, your voice modulation, your eye contact, your gestures, postures, all will be affected by it, by the venue. Next, size of the presentation space is also important. You should have an idea beforehand. And light and sound arrangements. For example, if the room is overlighted and you are using audio visual aids, it can have some impact on it. Or if the sound system is not proper, again a lot of your efforts might be tarnished. So, all these points need be paid attention to before you go for any presentation. Last but not the least in this category will be time management. You know, I have often found in many presentations that people have a tendency to exceed the time management, and we do not realize the amount of problems it creates for the organizers. If you are exceeding the time limit allotted to you, you must be having more speakers after you, the whole planning might be disturbed. So, stick to the time allotted to you. Even if you are if you complete your presentation much before time, again it shows that you were not properly prepared. So, be careful. Of course, few minutes here and there can be managed, but broadly we should stick to whatever time has been allotted to us. Then now I will like to draw your attention to the role of audio visual aids, which are an integral part of any presentation, especially by a professional. The benefits of using an audio visual aid are immense. It serves as speech notes, it provides confidence to the speakers, it helps maintain focus on the theme of the presentation, it increases audience interest, and it gives clarity. The basic thing is that without audio visual aid nowadays, no presentation can be made clear. It gives clarity and precision to the topic being presented. So, my suggestion is that whenever there is an opportunity for any professional or academic presentation, the presentation should be supported by audio visual aids. But now here using audio visual aids is also a point, because there are so many types of visual aids nowadays. Whatever kind of visual aid we are using, we need to first check the topic and then we should decide what type of visual aid we have to use. There are 3-dimensional visual aids like objects, models, people, etc. Then we have 2-dimensional visual aids, drawings, photographs, slides, maps, graphs, charts, etc. Whatever visual aids we are using, nowadays we have smart classes, we have them in a pen drives, in slides. So, whatever kind of visual aids we are using, we have to take the required precautions. Some of them you should always keep in mind. The visual aids need to be relevant to the topic of presentation. It should be relevant, it should not be imposed. Sometimes it happens. We should not use visual aid for just using it. Next is, the presenter must be familiar with the visual aid. Many times it happens that there is some technical fault and all. So, the presenter should be well acquainted with whatever aid he or she is using. Now, the visual aid which we are using, we should be careful about the computer software programs such as PowerPoint and Corel presentations, which we use to enhance the effectiveness of the presentation, and handouts like charts, presentation, abstracts, summaries, brochures, pamphlets may be distributed to support the content. We should have some key considerations before our presentation. First is the level of presentation. If you are going to present your content in front of professors group, or it is for the students, it is for national seminar or international seminar or conference, it has to be in mind while you are preparing the presentation. Then we should also be familiar with the agenda of the events. What are the steps, what is the agenda of the whole event? Somebody will be inaugurating it, somebody will be the chief guest. All these things should be very clear, and accordingly our presentation should be monitored. Who are the sponsors, then who are the other speakers, who is the chief guest. All these things, if we know prior to our presentation, definitely it will help us in preparing well. Thank you.